T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
I am the tiger, dancing through the fire. I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Get Up and Grow. My name is Tony Rodriguez, and I'll be your host. I'm on here with a very good friend of mine, Bill Carmody, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, I'll tell you a little bit of why I'm here. I've been, over the last 4 years, I've been doing some let's pause that and start again, Karina.
She's going to keep recording. We can just edit this part out. So
okay.
just go ahead.
Log. Okay.
Just do your second
All
take.
right, here we go.
Start from the beginning. You're good.
Yep. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural podcast of Get Up and Grow. My name is Tony Rodriguez, and I am your host. With me, I've got a good friend of mine, Bill Carmody, which we'll get to in a minute. First, I'm going to tell you why I'm here and how we're here. I've been involved in the personal development space for 17 or 18 years, 20 years, somewhere thereabouts. I've got in for my own growth, my own development. And I've been encouraged over the last several years to start my own podcast. So this is it. This is episode 1. The big turnaround in my life was about 4 years ago when I had a bit of a life-changing experience. And I had to change something that I was doing in order to feel different, right? Because we need to make changes sometimes. Nobody likes change, but changes are necessary in order to grow. So 4 years ago, actually it'll be 4 years on the 24th of September. So it'll be 4 years in a couple of days. I started getting up early at 6 o'clock in the morning and going for a 4-mile walk. And that's my hour of power, or my morning, my morning ritual, which we can get to at another podcast. But one of the things that I was doing is as I'm walking, and doing my incantations and affirmations and really kind of going inside, because that's my time. That's the time that I have with me. And I encourage you to do the same. I started vlogging and speaking about different things that impacted me emotionally, physically, in business, whatever it was. Or, I've also been coaching some people along the way. And one of the experiences that I've dealt with one of my clients. So I started doing the videos, and the way I look at it is you get up in the morning, so it's get up and grow, because what we go through in life is what we have to grow through in life. Hence the name Get Up and Grow. So that's a bit of I don't want to kill this intro. So that's a little bit of who I am. I'm just now going to introduce to you guys the fabulous Bill Carmody, and just tell you a little bit about Bill. Say hi, Bill.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
All right. So Bill, I'll just tell you guys a little bit about him. Bill, at the age of 45, has already had some epic adventures, becoming one of the top 100 sales influencers, standing next to Tony Robbins as he rung the opening bell for the NASDAQ, to dropping 50 pounds and even finishing in the top 50% of a 140.6-mile Ironman. And Bill, you are my hero for that. That's amazing to do that at 45. He was even flown to Brazil to interview Sir Richard Branson. That was last year. That was exciting. I remember that one. That was fantastic. The purpose of Bill's life is to be an inspirational leader who solves problems and creates breakthroughs for himself and for others. He just launched Millionaire Coaches Marketing Playbook to support 80,000 coaches that are in the U.S. and that are struggling to launch a professional business, a profitable business, I should say. Having founded and successfully exited 2 highly profitable and award-winning multi-million-dollar marketing companies, Bill splits his time between being a sage on the stage as an international speaker and the guide on the side as a professional leadership coach. Bill is a regular columnist for publications such as Inc. and Forbes magazine. He has spoken at dozens of industry conferences across the globe and has had the opportunity to interview many high-profile industry professionals such as Tony Robbins, one of my mentors, Grant Cardone, both of whom actually follow him on Twitter, as well as Sir Richard Branson, another one of my mentors, Malcolm Gladwell, and Tim Sanders. And now he gets to be on with me, so it's fantastic.
I saved
so
the
I
best
just
for
want to
last,
welcome Bill. I just added myself to the illustrious list of people that you've interviewed. Even though this time, I guess I'm kind of interviewing you. So, so Bill, tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about. We'll just go back and forth. Again, this is my inaugural podcast, so bear with us here as we kind of work our way through.
Yeah. In having this first conversation with you, what I loved about it was you and I go in all these different directions, but the relationship side was the thing that really gravitated and we really started to riff off each other. And I'm excited to talk about my 3 rules of marriage. And just to give you a little bit of background on this, it's when I grew up, I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced, and I had the model of the world where I saw two people that loved each other got divorced, and it was very painful as a child. And then I knew when I wanted to become older and get married myself, I wanted to have a different model of what that could look like. And so when I met my now wife, Elena, her parents had been married over 60 years. And when I say they've been married 60 years, they were blissfully happy, like just pat each other on the butt happy at 60 years into their marriage, which is incredible. And I'm like, okay, how do you do this? There's got to be a formula here. What's your secret? And he said, there's 3 rules of marriage. And I'm like, okay, let me get a pen. So I wanted to sort of say, what is it that really makes relationships great? How do people have blissful relationships? And I can tell you honestly, in 18 years of marriage, I just celebrated my 18th year of marriage. I have been in a blissful relationship from day one, and it's because of these 3 rules of marriage. So I'm excited to get into them with you.
Excellent. Congratulations on the 18 years. Good for you. I'm actually, I just hit 16 myself last week. So, blessed more than most. But listen, before you get into the rules of marriage, I just want to, again, to just highlight the fact that relationships are everything, right? The quality of our life really depends on the quality of the relationships we have. And those relationships vary wildly from good relationships to bad relationships to everything in between. And certainly the relationships we have with our family, the relationship we have with our children, with our spouse, with our partners, business partners, with our friends, they're all different. But the most important relationship is actually the relationship you have with yourself. So oddly enough, some of the rules that Bill's going to be talking about apply really to all of those relationships. Parts of them apply to all those relationships. So, I jokingly say, marriage is 50-50. That's what everybody says, right? Marriage is 50-50. And I say, I love telling this story when I'm sitting at a party with my wife. I say, yeah, marriage is 50-50. She cooks, I eat, I dirty, she cleans. It's great, 50-50. But obviously, certainly that's not the case. Marriage is 100%, divorce is 50-50. So you can't go into a relationship, whether it be your marital relationship or any relationship, thinking it's going to be 50-50. Everybody's got to put in 100%. If everybody only puts in 50%, if you're supposed to build a boat with your buddy because you're going to go across the lake, across the river, across the world, and you're supposed to build the back half, he builds the front half, only one of you does the work, what happens? You don't go anywhere. Or the boat sinks, or you just don't go anywhere. And in life, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So the relationships are everything that we go through in life. Isn't that, do you agree?
Absolutely. And so, Tony, I think what's interesting about this too is this idea of why do some people have these beautiful relationships that constantly grow and expand and become better over time, while other people struggle in their relationships and feel like they're trapped and they just want to get out. And so you see both. And so I think it's really important by understanding sort of the framework. It's what you contribute and what you sort of are looking to give in the relationship that's actually more important than what you get out of it. You actually get a tremendous amount of value, but the more you give, the more you get. And it's sort of this reciprocal part, which I would refer to as interdependence, right? You have 2 people that are completely independent who love each other very much and then grow together. So I think this is a fantastic topic. We're having a lot of fun today.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And you know what? And the one thing I mentioned in passing, but the most important relationship you have is the relationship you have with yourself.
Yes.
You got to start with being honest with yourself, being honest about who you are, being honest about what you want, being honest about what you're committed to, what you're committed to doing, and holding yourself to that higher standard. Because it's great to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go on a diet tomorrow. I'm going to start writing my book tomorrow. I'm going to start my podcast next week. And that was a year ago for me. So none of us are perfect, and we are very much a work in progress. And it's okay to be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time. So it's important to work on yourself. So again, I welcome you to this podcast, and this is going to be one of many. And it really is. This is where you're coming, not just obviously here, but in the books that you read, in the podcasts that you watch, in what you do to take care of yourself. Because if you've got to be right with you in order to be in a healthy, happy relationship with someone else, you can't go to that relationship looking for that fulfillment, looking for that satisfaction. It's got to come from you. And, so that's where it's important here, is working on you. And the next however many podcasts we're going to be doing is going to be all about that. But today specifically is relationships. And again, beyond the relationship with yourself, the next most important relationship that we have, certainly for those of us who are married, or is the relationship with our spouse. Obviously, if you're younger, it's with your children. And that, even as you grow older, you always have that relationship with your children, with your friends, with your chosen family, who are those friends that become like family. Bill's one of those guys. So with that, I don't want to take too much of the stage. I'm going to let Bill get into his 3 secrets to a happy marriage, happy, fulfilled marriage.
Well, thank you, Tony. So what's interesting is when I thought, what I found that I'm going to go through these, and then each time I've ever had a challenge in my relationship, it's because of an infraction in one of the 3. So the first one, and I find it to be one of the most important ones, is it's more important to say I appreciate you than I love you. And the reason that that's so important is that, when I first heard that, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I think love is stronger than appreciation. Why would you say it's more important to say I appreciate you than I love you? But love is something that can be taken for granted. People say, I love you, and sometimes they mean it, sometimes they don't. And you can see like it's what you're supposed to say, but it's very general. Whereas appreciation is specific. I appreciate that you took out the garbage. I appreciate that you did the dishes. I appreciate that you did the laundry. Then the relationship, it's those specific small things that you're constantly doing together, right? You're going to spend more time doing dishes and laundry than you're going to be in the bedroom, right? So it's this idea of being specific about the appreciation helps someone feel appreciated. So if your partner feels appreciated, and they will reciprocate the same thing. They're going to look for things that they appreciate in their relationship, and that will constantly grow and build. So the first rule is more important to say I appreciate you than I love you.
And the reality of it is we all want to feel appreciated. We all want to feel important. We all want to feel special. So how great does it feel to have somebody says, hey, you know what? I appreciate you. I appreciate what you did. Thank you so much. As opposed to, again, like Bill said, oh, I love you. Well, we've all heard, well, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So,
right.
You can say I love you till the cows come home. But the reality of it is love isn't just a word. Love is an action. Love is in everything that you do for your spouse, for everyone. Hell, Bill and I are doing this today, just as a way of just sharing a little bit of light and spreading some love throughout the world. And hopefully there's, going to be lots of you listening and tuning in. But it's really important, to really appreciate someone, even going to your children and say, I really appreciate you having done your chores. I really appreciate this or that or the other thing. It goes that much further. I know I love to hear that. So
what ends up happening when you're being specific about that appreciation too, it really sort of is giving an example. So when I say I love you, it's not specific. What ends up happening is if I'm in a fight or I'm not sure, it's like, well, you just saying that? Do you really mean it? Right? But when you say I appreciate you for doing something specific, you're really calling that out in the relationship, and you're really saying like, this is important to me, and I appreciate that you do it, and I don't take it for granted. Because that's the thing, like you tend to find in a relationship that you end up doing different roles. My wife, she really wanted to pay the bills. She wanted to be to control the money. That's great. I still don't take that for granted. I appreciate her doing that. I'm going to go out and be the main breadwinner. So I'm earning most of the money, and she's really taking control over the expenses. But I want to make sure that for us to be successful, we both have our roles and we both appreciate each other. She appreciates that I'm making the money. And I appreciate her that she's really being cautious with what the money we're spending as well. So you think about it, just goes into so many deep areas. It's a very simple rule, but it's very profound in the fact that it affects just about every aspect of the relationship. Which brings us to the second one. The second rule of marriage is don't keep score. And what's fascinating about that is it started with my father-in-law telling me that, men just don't have the kind of memory that women do. And so it's not fair. It's an unfair fight from the beginning because women can remember a lot more specific things than men do. Men are more general, women are more specific. He goes, but more importantly, what it does is when you have that